He entered alone, thinking that his opponent was very energetic. He was conquering the 5th level tower on the first day. Kang Yusung thought that there was no need to compete in speed at the start of the season. The young man considered his competitors, most of whom were gathering skills and items. The gravedigger had not planned to participate in the game, he was taking care of his business affairs. Kang Yusung thought that the sword master of the 4th level tower might have obtained a good item. The journalists were very interested in the young man's opinion about the sword master. The same question came from various mouths. Kang Yusung answered briefly, saying that he thought the sword master was stupid. One of the journalists asked if Kang Yusung would not compete with the sword master. Kang Yusung said that he also thought that he was stupid. If he had to choose between being a loser or a foolish winner, the latter was better. The journalists asked the young man to watch his words. The young man asked if any of them wanted to escort him to the 5th level tower. According to the rules of this game, only one must gain the glory to win. Each competitor fought for this right, guided by the clown master. The others began to place their bets. Most participants bet on Kang Yusung. The ice ruler bet on Kang Yusung, not wanting the young man to give up. The young man thought that this would be a fight for dignity. There was a special condition: the players could not be on the same side. The goal of the assault was to win while approaching the tower. The young man thought that the sword master was already inside. It was time to play seriously. The young man informed the system that he was entering the tower. The evil empire of Kalis had begun a conquest war and had reached the territory of the kingdom of Lodia after first increasing its military strength. The heroes had to carry out the historic battle by capturing or defending the fortress of Payas. The system offered the young man a choice between the empire of Kalis or the kingdom of Lodia. The young man thought that in this tower, a communist fought for the empire. There was no way to ban him. The empire of Kalis was not available as a choice. This side had been chosen by other players. The young man said that he still chose the kingdom's side. The game gave more rewards to the benefited. The system informed him that the player had chosen the kingdom of Lodia and would be transferred to the fortress of Payas. The young man appeared before the knights of the fortress. Everyone became excited. The player appeared before them. The knights rejoiced, thinking that God had finally taken pity on them. The knights embraced and congratulated each other. They said that this hero had come to save them. Kang Yusung assessed the situation with one look and thought that the knights here were developing their battle tactics. Judging by their equipment, they were ready to fight. Kang Yusung asked who was leading, wanting to be briefed. The war council turned their eyes to him. The young hero captured everyone's interest with his opinions. Another knight entered the room and remarked that the guest was quite careless. The knight who entered said that he led the defense of Payas fortress and was a member of the Lode royal family's side branch. In his presence, the young man had to follow the palace customs. The young man interrupted the commander and asked if they wanted to win the upcoming battle. The commander said that of course, they wanted to win this battle. They might lack military strength, but their royal spirit was unmatched. The commander added that it was impossible for their warriors to lose. Until now, all these statements were baseless. The commander of the knights said that they could easily win even if the empire had 10 times more soldiers. The commander did not have time to finish his sentence as the guest stopped him with a hard punch to the chest. Kang Yusung, filled with anger, said that he would now be in charge here. The young man's eyes shone like those of a demon. The attendees complained and said that a meeting needed to be held. The guest asked how many units they had, of what kind, and the number of imperial troops. The young man was told that there were 5,000 mobilized peasants, of whom 900 knew how to use bows. The young man thought that compared to the empire, the difference in military strength was huge. Fortunately, magic did not exist in this world. The young man noticed that the swordmaster did not have fire power, which would also be an advantage for him. However, he was the heir of the Iron Ruler. Most players could only sign a contract with one ruler and receive rewards in the future only from them. Kang Yusung thought he was a special case, being rewarded by various rulers. The clown ruler turned him into a solitary player. On the other hand, each ruler could take several players under their protection, but only one would receive special privileges as their heir. The rulers did not overly support the chosen ones, but there were certain restrictions. In the case of the sword ruler, the basic ability had to have something to do with the iron ruler. After comparing all these factors, Kang Yusung thought he still had a chance to win. The young man looked at his comrades and thought that these warriors clearly felt pressure that was not comparable to his. It was still unknown how real the world of the tower was. No one knew if they were real people or just creations of the tower. There was no way to know. The young man thought, whoever they were, now there was something else more important. Now it was necessary to boost their morale. The guard officer at the fortress wall announced that there was a guest coming to their kingdom. The guest stood nearby, and everyone watched him and raised their swords and spears as a sign of respect. The guard officer announced that the head of the Vision House was no longer their commander. This player would personally give them orders. The knights discussed the news. It turned out the fat man had been expelled, and now they would be led by a player. Of course, the Almighty had not abandoned them. The heroic king noticed that the soldiers became more spirited knowing that the young man had taken care of their old commander. The knights called him their savior. The young man was pleased to hear this. He thought that now there was nothing to worry about. The morale of the knights had risen to the right level. The guard officer at the fortress wall announced that the empire had launched an attack. They had to prepare to repel the assault. The archers of the fortress soldiers in a sudden attack began shooting arrows at the enemy and hitting them. The enemy attacked the fortress walls but in vain. A guard told the new commander that the imperial troops had approached the fortress gate. If they overcame them, the enemy's morale would be greatly weakened. The young commander said he understood everything. The young man unsheathed his ice sword and prepared for battle. Kang Yusung decided to summon his shadow beast. He thought he should give it a shorter name and Darky would catch everyone's attention. Our hero raised his sword high and instructed Darky to show its power to the enemy. Kang Yusung's comrades in the fortress wondered what could happen. They were astonished by the appearance of the shadow beast. Something large and dark appeared on the fortress walls. Kang Yusung called all his comrades to form a formation and prepare for battle. Darkening behaved well, its eyes blazed with demonic fire. It alone was capable of destroying a large number of approaching enemies. The imperial soldiers realized they were under attack by a monster and decided they must retreat as quickly as possible. Panic struck the attackers' ranks. The soldiers dropped their weapons and retreated swiftly. The attacking commander said they had to leave this wall and regroup elsewhere. Perhaps there would be no monster there. Kang Yusung observed the shadow beast's actions from atop the fortress wall and concluded that the beast might be hungry. Our hero wished his disciple a good appetite. Darkening was very hungry. The imperial soldiers fled in panic. The young man noticed that there were no signs of the sword master being present. When a player appears, no one knows how it could end. On one hand, his presence boosted the allies' morale, making them more eager to fight the enemy. But on the other hand, the player revealed his location to the enemy. However, no one risked their life according to the rules. There was always a player who could defeat the other. In this case, the loser was expelled from the tower and failed the assault on a tower. The players couldn't destroy each other, but the tower itself could. Kang Yusung realized he wouldn't die in this tower. However, that didn't mean he was okay with defeat. The defeated soldiers retreated hastily. The insatiable Darkening continued to chase them. Our hero knew he had a plan for every possibility. As the imperial soldiers retreated, many soldiers died on the battlefield. They were soldiers from both sides. The young man thought it was time for his main rival to show himself. He had to kill all the soldiers to reach him. The knights looked up and wondered what was happening. The sword moved on its own. A sword control technique had been used. The king's hero bravely parried the sword flying towards him. He wondered when his opponent had time to acquire the sword control technique card. The young man thought his opponent was either lucky or the Iron Ruler himself had given him this card. Kang Yusung continued to parry the sword's attacks and thought his opponent had time to prepare well while he hid. The young man said he didn't waste time either and had just finished leveling up. Now he was unbeatable. The young man had a shadow sword. It was a rare level. The retreating soldiers shouted that there was also a player from the imperial side and that guest was now fighting for them, said Kang Yusung. Now that the enemy had come for him, the course of the battle changed drastically. The enemy soldiers were no longer retreating. The young man swung his ice sword and said his opponent didn't expect to break it with that, did he? The precision of the sword control technique was inversely proportional to the number of swords. The young man used the system to activate the Seraphim shield. Using it, he deflected the ongoing enemy attacks. The attack was so strong that after a while, the Seraphim shield was depleted. The recharge time for the shield was 3 hours. Kang Yusung asked his opponent, "You didn't expect to capture the fortress with just this technique, did you? That would be naive." His opponent asked if Kang Yusung knew how to achieve victory in this tower. Even if the fortress was destroyed and all the representatives of this kingdom were obliterated, the empire couldn't win until the heroes faced each other, said Kang Yusung. His opponent knew this but still chose to side with the empire. This was about making this confrontation happen. His opponent agreed and said that a player is a hero, and a hero's duty is to protect the world. The Chinese rival swung his weapon and said that there are people who cannot understand this. The young man added that people like that do not deserve to call themselves heroes and launched a war cry. Kang Yusung said that he listened to his opponent. But the fact is that the world he protects is not only made up of guild members from his country. His opponent shouted that Kang Yusung's death would be terrible and everyone on the live broadcast could see it. Kang Yusung replied that he wanted to live long, so that was not his opponent's decision. Our hero used Darky to achieve his goal. His opponent thought it was a dirty trick and tried to catch Kang Yusung's attention. The Chinese said that the rulers were observing this battle, so Kang Yusung should be aware of the burden of loss. Kang Yusung asked his opponent if he didn't realize why he was fighting. Our hero seized the moment and delivered a fatal blow to his opponent. His opponent said it was a despicable act. Kang Yusung spoke persistently to attack his weak point. Everything was a cheap trick. His opponent said that Kang Yusung should not retreat. After all this, they had to finish this fight here and now. Our hero thought that his opponent had actively participated in the battle from the beginning, not because he wanted to show how dangerous it was or to cheer on his soldiers. The wounded soldiers asked their hero for help. They saw the hero approaching them. The hero representing the Empire's strength continued to chase John and ignored his injured comrades. The headquarters of the Imperial Army was restless. The soldiers didn't understand how they could stop the monster. Someone suggested putting down their weapons and fleeing. One of the high-ranking knights shouted about what their player was doing now. A comrade tried to calm the Duke of Barmouth. Kang Yusung broke into the enemy army's headquarters and said that he finally found them. The young man added that he had his own way of handling this situation. The man swung his sword in front of those present and said that the only thing he had to do was complete the tower's task. For the young man, the tower's task was to destroy his rivals. The young man began to carry out this task. The rival knights thought that the Almighty had abandoned them. The knights, while fending off Kang Yusung's attacks, thought that they had to protect their master. So, they turned into a wall in front of the enemy. The Imperial player finally reached Master Kang, and seeing that he was already at his headquarters, he headed straight for him, saying that he was a bastard and had to pay the price. The young man said that his opponent should have disguised himself as an officer and hidden among the soldiers so he would suffer fewer losses. Kang Yusung said angrily that he just needed to take advantage of the Empire from his opponent. The opponent again called our hero a cruel bastard, which was not true. The Battle of Heroes did not happen because Kang Yusung had completed his mission. The system announced that the young man had completed the paid battle mission. Duke Barmouth and all the commanders of Imp collies were destroyed by an unknown mercenary, so the Imperial Army, after losing its leaders, decided to retreat. The system announced that Kang Yusung had captured the war tower. The young man ignored the Chinese hero. The Chinese soldier received a message that he had failed to capture the tower. As a reward for this victory, the system offered the winner to choose one of his opponent's skill cards. ## translation into English. The essence of the great sword, iron martial arts, or sword mastery. Kang Yusung said that it was very good on the part of the system. The defeated opponent realized that now he was at a disadvantage and would lose one of his cards, calling his opponent a bastard again. Kang Yusung chose to master the sword. His opponent said that he would end him. The young man said that now he had to be responsible for his words. The system stated that the hero had received the chosen skill. The effect of the selected skill could be applied in his mind to control the sword. The young man equipped this skill. The Chinese opponent said that Kang Yusung couldn't hope this would end here. Now he would be considered his blood enemy. The second season of Kang Yusung. The young man saw the mask under his feet and thought that it was a familiar place. The boy with 1,000 faces and 1,000 skills wanted to be a hero. The young man thought about waiting for this day to come back to make the same decision. The young man wondered if he should start again. It was like running in circles. The clown announced that he would be a hero among the heroes, but others would stop understanding him. Moreover, others would start mocking, and there was a funny irony in it. The young man wore this mask after all, and this happened repeatedly countless times. The clown master and Kang Yusung made a contract. The young man opened his eyes sharply, waking up instantly. The phone kept ringing loudly. The message showed that there were already 4 missed calls. Someone knocked on the door loudly and shouted for Kang Yusung to open up immediately. Everyone knew that he was still alive. The young man wondered why he always had restless dreams and why they were knocking on his door so early in the morning. Kang Yusung had to wake up and open the door, asking what brought this simple person to his house so early. The guest was Park Tae-shik, known as Mr. Park. He said that the young man was acting like a big shot after being hired as a master assassin. Mr. Park was then known by his alias, the Destroyer Sword. He was one of the top 30 players. Mr. Park, for clarity, was the head of the National Intelligence Department at the Blue House. Kang Yusung said that his opponent looked tired in the morning but already had time to visit him on the first day. Mr. Park said that he didn't have time to rest. Mr. Park said that since the first day of the season, war fans from around the world had voiced their charm in front of all the players. Kang Yusung thought with a smile that his opponent was trying to achieve world peace. Park asked why the young man didn't answer the phone. Kang Yusung replied that he was sleeping. Park was surprised because the sun had been up for a long time. Mr. Park stumbled over a plate on the floor as he entered the room. The young man didn't have time to warn him. Mr. Park fell to the floor and thought about how badly the hero had messed up his floor. Mr. Park said that the naughty young man was frenetically selling shirts with his picture and living in such a bad place. The young man asked his opponent to avoid harsh words, then said that he felt uncomfortable. Park said that judging by his lifestyle, the young man was undoubtedly a child of darkness. Mr. Park mentioned that the young man worked hard for money and got his meals from a nearby Chinese restaurant. Kang Yusung asked what was wrong with the restaurant. The chicken breast is delicious. His conversation partner said he should try the dish from that restaurant. The young man suggested ordering 2 large portions with Kaliang liquor. Kang Yusung remembered that he knew this man before the world became a game at the computer club. A neighbor advised the young man to look ahead, saying that a battle was taking place. Kang Yusung had already completed all computer games with victories by the age of 15. He always said he just needed to survive. No one doubted that Kang Yusung would be the winner in every match. The internet cafe owner saw the young man and thought he was good at every game. The owner of the cafe was Park Tae-shik. The man thought that the young man was a genius. Mr. Park asked Kang Yusung if he wanted to become a professional player. The young man thought for a moment before answering. Previously, he played just for fun. Mr. Park managed to convince the young man's parents that he had a bright future. The internet cafe owner began training the young man by analyzing his abilities. On the young man's 18th birthday, he officially debuted as a professional player in the first season. The end of the world would soon begin with an invasion from the tower in the first season. The young man was injured and covered in blood, walking with his back to the balcony of the apartment block. There was horror in his eyes. A monster approached the young man. There was no way out. Suddenly, Mr. Park, armed with a kitchen knife, jumped onto the balcony at the same time and stabbed one of his knives into the monster's head. Everything happened suddenly. Mr. Park asked if the young man was okay. The boy jumped up and ran to his parents' room. The young man knelt with tears in his eyes before his parents' shattered bodies. The boy cried helplessly and angrily, unable to bring his parents back. Kang Yusung lost his parents that day and found his only hero, Mr. Park. Kang Yusung and Park were finishing the food they ordered from the Chinese restaurant. The young man asked his conversation partner for what. Mr. Park said that he came today for the association. The young man wondered what was going on, whether they still wanted to use him for their own purposes. The Players Association was the only guild in the country run by almighty players. Mr. Park asked if the young man knew about the academy built by the association last season. Kang Yusung asked if it was a slave factory. Mr. Park confirmed it. The man said that the first final exam would be held there in a week. The association asked the young man about the possibility of the boy going. Mr. Park said he would write a resignation letter for the boy so that Kang Yusung wouldn't have to go there. However, Kang Yusung said he would go, which made Mr. Park very happy. His friend agreed to go as well. Kay said, "It will be good to see the new actors who will bear the responsibility of the country's future." A man asked under what conditions Kang Yusung would be willing to go there. Kang Yusung smiled and said that Mr. Park should ask them to change the exam time to 5 a.m. tomorrow. The next day, 5 minutes before 5 a.m., the graduation exam for the academy players began. The graduates who saw Kang Yusung recognized him as the Hero King. It was known that he would be their judge. Someone expressed confidence that everyone would pass even if they didn't have to win. They didn't understand why they had to be called at 5 a.m., thinking it might be a joke. An academy representative told Kang Yusung that their students were systematically involved in an intensive study program. The academy director, Lee Seon-ho, asked the Hero King to appreciate their academy's pride in the first generation of students. Kang Yusung asked if the academy director remembered his conditions. Y promised that he would test the graduate's strength, but he would also have the final say regarding graduation. The academy director agreed. Kang Yusung gathered all the graduates in front of him and announced that the test was starting. The academy director thought the young man was doing whatever he wanted. Lunho believed his plan was perfect, as it was just the beginning of the season and the students were on a perfect schedule. Even the Hero King couldn't mess anything up. After some time, the academy director became angry. How could Kang Yusung dismiss the graduates one by one, saying they failed the test and were free to leave? Kang Yusung approached the next victim, a graduate student, and asked if she was alone. The girl asked if she had also failed. Kang Yusung said she passed. The student asked why, and the Hero King replied that the girl was lucky. Kang Yusung said that this graduate was the luckiest of 12 attempts. It should not be forgotten that luck is very important for a player. Kang Yusung announced that the test was over and turned off the camera. He congratulated the girl on her graduation. The academy director entered the room and asked Kang Yusung what this all meant. The man said they only asked Kang Yusung to evaluate. Mr. K said they really thought he wouldn't understand. The Hero King said that all these students were children of executives or had connections with them. Kang Yusung was called here to assess their progress and gather information. The man asked if the academy really wanted to recruit people who could barely stand. Why give them a place they didn't deserve? Kang Yusung said that this academy had been doing this since its first year, and everything here was rotten. The academy director shouted that Kang Yusung knew nothing. In reality, he didn't know what he was doing. If people called him a hero, it didn't mean he was truly a hero. The academy director stated that a player is just a weapon in the hands of the country, and in all countries, they are treated as such. The academy director stated that they do what is necessary for the country's welfare. In today's world, they only need a war hero. The Hero King should realize that in the situation where he was just asked for help, the young man thought that this man only needed players for war. They all didn't understand anything here and would remain in the dark until everything fell apart. An assistant went to see the associate director and told him there was urgent news. The associate director learned of it and was very angry. According to Kang Yusung, it seemed the player academy would be closed after 1 year of operation. In the latest news, it was reported that the academy was suddenly accepting players. The academy director wondered where the journalists got the video. The young man thought the academy didn't know they were supported by the division chief of the National Intelligence Department. The young man asked the academy representative if they knew who the Dark Horse was. The system reported to the Hero King that the provocation points had doubled. The clown ruler admired the actions of the hired worker. The hero accepted the reward. The young man left the academy area and thought he had completed his task. The young man asked Mr. Pak if it was okay for the intelligence department to take care of the association. Mr. Pak replied that the government didn't like it either. The man added that these organizations were always fighting with each other. Kang Yusung asked his conversation partner if he was here if he could take him to the level 5 tower. The level 5 tower is the Pale Desert Tower with the goal of protecting caravans and delivering object integrity to the participants. They will face a journey of heat and cold across the desert. There are no stores in the tower. Mr. Pak asked if the young man was feeling nervous. The boy said that he was fine. The system reported that the player was traveling to a camp in the desert oasis, and it was nighttime. The desert oasis was teeming with a large number of monsters per square meter. The participants couldn't handle the attack and shouted that it was enough. There was blood everywhere. The young man climbed the tower, immediately drew his sword, and plunged into battle. Upon entering the tower, all players are always on alert. This time was no exception. The King Hero, as usual, appeared as a savior at the right moment. People screamed and called for help. Our hero looked more spectacular in the battle against the monsters, using his weapon coolly and confidently, defeating stronger opponents without giving the villains a chance to escape. The residents of Sasan said that the God of Light had mercy on them this time and that the Messenger of Light was now with them. The young man thought that after all this he had a bad feeling. The young man asked the locals if there were any other threats besides the monsters. The locals said that this was the territory of the Divine Kingdom, so there was no need to worry about attacks from pagans. They were not far from their destination, only a 3-day journey at most, and they had plenty of food and water with them. The young man held his head. 3 days was not a short time. He knew he should have rested more. He came here carried away by emotions. The locals asked if he was okay or if he was a messenger. The young man said that these people could be at ease. It was time for them to rest. As long as the King Hero was near, they did not fear monsters. The locals asked how they could thank the Messenger of Light for his help.